Simply on the screen, as soon as it pops up, you can X out.
You
of
can
it.
X, yeah. Yeah, top right.
This, is
Yeah,
that,
yeah, otherwise it won't.
all right, ready? Today is Monday, October 18th at 4:15. This is the Rules and Policy Committee meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order. Second item up is roll call. I see Councilor Cucci and Councilor Johnson here. And then we're joined by Liam and Tom. Item 3 is the approval of minutes. Can I get a motion?
So move.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, raise your hand. All right. All right, next item up is discussion item for the valuation policy. So last meeting, we talked deeply about this and many other items, and Liam took the action to go back and draft something based on the feedback. I think that's what we have in front of us. Liam, do you want to pull up? And so just to kind of set the stage for this while he's pulling it up. So I believe we met because, and to discuss this item because we, after reviewing the last policy, determined that it was a little bit outdated, especially with the valuations that take place. And so we decided that it was worth revisiting to figure out if there's a different policy we should come up with. And this policy really sets the estimation for the valuation for the budget and gives some direction for what Tom or others would propose when the budget's proposed around what the overall town evaluation piece would be. All right, so Liam, do you want to walk us through what's in front of us?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I think, sorry, Anderson, I think the crux of the conversation, or I guess the origin of the conversation really was around this idea that this past year, the value that actually came in, the actual value was quite a lot higher than what we had projected. And I think there was a pretty healthy discussion around how we could better plan for some of the other objectives, financial objectives of the council, whether that is, I think some of the subjects we talked about was property tax stabilization or capital reserves, or even building general fund, undesignated or unassigned fund balance. But this idea that when we underestimate value going into the budget process, it's very difficult to kind of figure out what to do with that additional value if we don't want all just to offset or reduce the tax rate. And so I think that the thought here was that we could be a bit more aggressive in our projection, which may allow for, again, we can include any language to that effect, but may allow for addressing some of those issues, other objectives, financial objectives moving forward. So perhaps being less conservative on the projection gives us more flexibility with regard to the projected mill rate and might allow us to do other things. So this is, again, historically, we've done sort of a cautious, mid-range, optimistic. And this one would be really just saying, we're going to go with 90% of last year's value, additional new value as a placeholder. The one caveat is we did say, subject to comment by the town manager. In the event we saw something that was predictable, an economic indicator that we don't see the type of growth through our building permits, or even with regard to other revenue sources that we might need to take into, or property tax relief, or the circuit breaker, or homestead. If we're seeing any fluctuations there that would impact that, we could receive some comments, so we wouldn't just go with the blanket 90%.
Great. Any discussion?
So I just had a question. When we talk about the 90% of the prior year's additional value from new property, so that's not just the difference between the FY21 and FY20 total valuation. That's actually looking at what new properties came online and the values associated with them. Which I thought was smart. It was a tweak from what we talked about, but it solved a lot of issues if we actually are able to track that data.
Well, I think that's the figure that, again, Tom will correct this, but that's the figure when the assessor speaks to new value. I think that's in large part what we're talking about. But.
So I just want to make sure I understand the nuance there. So for instance, revaluation year, that would certainly affect the way this is written. But I'm not sure under normal circumstances, where we're not doing a revaluation, why it wouldn't be simply comparing value from prior year to.
It
new year.
typically would be close unless you have a large abatement or something, some anomaly, which I think you would want to exclude those from.
Yeah,
your
I suppose
numbers.
Homestead exemption, those sorts of things.
Well, the
Legislature did
homestead.
something.
This is, so what I was thinking of, do we need another layer on this for homestead, right? And I don't think we do, because to the extent that homestead reimbursement changes or the, the amount that goes into it, those are going to be somewhat offsetting.
Yep.
For the mill rate. So for planning purposes, I think we're good leaving those as they are. If something changes last minute, they'll probably compensate for each other.
Yeah, remember, this number is what's used in the budget discussion. It really doesn't have, any weight other than helps inform that discussion. The assessor will set the value when they're ready at commitment, and it will be what it is. But I think it's helpful for all involved to kind of remove the mystery and the question about what are you using for value when we have kind of a formulaic, very simple to understand way of doing that. So expectations are normalized or equalized there.
Tom, do you see? So are we just by proxy, are we eliminating that method of optimistic, conservative and mid-range?
I would see this replacing the current policy that's in place.
And is that, I know we revoked the weighted average policy or the rolling average policy, so to speak, but there's nothing in our policy that had you do those 3 tiers. Isn't that more stylistic, or is that something actually that was in policy?
Yeah, I think we actually expanded, it took some liberties and kind of report out those 3 different tiers.
Right, but that wasn't by policy, that was more your style, is that correct?
Correct.
No, it was in the policy,
Oh, it was?
which we haven't actually revoked yet.
Mhm.
We voted in this committee to,
That was my next process
Yeah,
question. Is
to
it on
revoke
the
it.
agenda for Wednesday, or did that?
It's not, I thought we would maybe
Okay.
do it hand in glove. When
That's
this
fair,
is ready
okay.
for consideration, we revoke these.
Completely fair, I was just trying to keep sight of.
so then the question is, do you want a high load midpoint? What benefit
But that
is
would
that?
defeat the purpose of what we're trying to do here. right?
Yeah, I don't see any benefit from doing that,
Yeah.
other than having another moving piece that makes it harder to follow things.
Right.
And someone questioning me why I chose
Yeah.
cautious rather than midpoint or
Right.
optimistic.
I mean, I think Tom, you said it best, that this is a starting point for discussion, and that's really why we thought, let's keep it simple. Let's make it a little bit more optimistic, especially we know, or we hope in the next few years, it's gonna be hopefully more optimistic. And so I think this is good to just keep it this simple, so that way, when it comes to the budget year, we have a good place to start the conversation and make sure we're not starting it in a more conservative manner, which typically leads to more conversations around where do we cut as opposed to, what do we want to do, assuming this is our optimistic valuation going forward and the additional revenue that may be coming in. So, I mean, I think this is good just from a simplicity perspective and just to kind of, keep it straightforward for you and the staff as well. So that way we have a really solid understanding of where we're starting from.
Well, I also think the 3 tiers are, communication wise, the 3 tiers are difficult because if the Scarborough leader picks up with their optimistic tier instead of the conservative tier or what have you. I mean, I don't think we had one consistent number in the budget in the local press this year.
Yeah.
Right, and I don't think it was anybody's fault, but it was 2 point something, but it was either, sometimes it was 2.1, sometimes it was 2.8, right?
Mhm.
So this would help, at least, help a little bit with getting the word out more accurately.
Yeah.
You know what, we try it. We've been kind of going blind the past
Yeah.
2 years because we knew the policy wouldn't work, so we might learn something, but I like starting with something simple like this.
Yeah, I think it's something we can always update after we do it a couple cycles to see if there's something we want to add or change, or again, we might learn something applying it this year that we're just not foreseeing that we can apply later. Great, so then I guess, do we want to get a motion to approve the policy that Liam wrote?
Yeah, and move it to the full
Yeah,
council.
move it to the full council.
Yeah, I move that we repeal and replace policy, I think it's 101.4 with what's in front of us today, and move it to the full council.
Second that.
Right, all those in favor? Right, it's unanimous. All right. So is there anybody in the public that would like to comment? I don't think so. Nope. All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor? All right, meeting adjourned.
You want to stop at the end?